Let me get a response also, because we have Ambassador Alon Pinchas joining us as well, former advisor to Israeli Prime Ministers Ehud Barak and Shimon Peres. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Pinchas. Let's talk about whether these targeted attacks could be more helpful and more ground forces, perhaps, without the air attacks, the unrelenting air attacks that have arguably indiscriminately, according to critics, been collective punishment on civilian Palestinians.
Well, hi, Andrea. Yeah, look, a ground operation, and I defer to the general and entirely agree and subscribe to what he had said. A ground operation that is surgical, that is based on a search and destroy, but isolates small quadrants rather than overwhelm entire areas with an armored division with aerial attacks, creates opportunities to seek out and to save some of the hostages. But that's also obviously based on very precise intelligence. And for that, you need the general security services and a network of informants rather than F-16s or F-35. So, yes, a ground operation conducted smartly, aside from the major military goal of destroying as much of Hamas militarily as possible, also opens the door or creates opportunities and possibilities to rescue and save more hostages.
And to that point, Ambassador Pinchas and to the rest of you gentlemen, I want to play a part of what President Emeritus of the Council on Foreign Relations, Richard Haass, said today on Morning Joe about the aim of eliminating Hamas and alternative ways of going about making Israel safer. Let's watch.
What you've had, though, is some friendly warnings. You have to be careful about the safety of civilians, keep open the two-state solution, but it's all been friendly advice. And the question is Israel heeding it? And I would say a lot of the evidence is not so much. There's obviously a real tension between the nature of this Israeli military operation and civilian casualties. And so what the Israelis are doing is understandable, yes. But is it smart? Is it necessary? Is it consistent with U.S. interests? Not so much.
So, Ambassador Pinchas, what is your view on that?
Richard Haass, he's absolutely right. The fundamental point in every war and every military operation on such a scale is to align it with a grand political objective. Otherwise, it's just a military tit for tat. In that respect, we need to better define, and I know for a fact that Israel has not defined what that political objective, that overarching political objective is, and therefore the allocation or the deployment or the employment of military power is questionable as long as it's not derived from such a political objective. Now, what Richard said is poignant and interesting because, yes, this needs to be done. Destroying Hamas needs to be done. Now, is it attainable at a cost that everyone is willing to pay? I don't know. There are pros and cons. Demolishing Hamas, Andrea, requires, there's no question about it, and it's inevitable, requires reoccupying the Gaza Strip. Whether for 2 weeks, for 2 months, for 2 years, or for 22 years, I don't know. I don't think Israel wants to do that. I don't think the Palestinian Authority can just come in on Israeli bayonets and rule, which is why Richard Haass is absolutely right.
Andrew, can I say something here?
Sure.
I respect the ambassador greatly, and of course, Mr. Haass as well, who's a friend. But I think he's wrong. So I don't think we asked, the Allied forces in the middle of World War II, what is your long-term political objective, other than to destroy the Third Reich? And I think we are asking the Israelis to do
that was a political objective.
A long-term political solution. Let me speak, Mr. Ambassador. Let me speak. Hamas is not just a terror organization making Jews unsafe in Israel. It's an idea that Jews should be unsafe anywhere. We need to get Hamas off our college campuses. We need to get Hamas off our streets in America. And we need to get Hamas out of the Gaza Strip. Liberating the Gaza Strip from Hamas will save Palestinian lives as well as American lives, Israeli lives, as well as Jewish lives. That, to me, is a goal unto itself worth pursuing.
Well, the question that Richard Haass was raising is it even possible? Is that a goal that's been defined?
I think we would have asked
carefully
during World War II, can you really get rid of the Nazi ideology? We denazified Germany. We need to de-Hamasify Gaza. Period. We need to show that the ideology is unacceptable. Period.
Well, Jonathan, let me ask General Twitty, is it possible operationally to get rid of Hamas?
Well, I think you can get rid of Hamas inside Gaza. That's going to be a long, drawn-out operation for the Israelis. Now, when you talk about greater Hamas, as you know, most of the leaders live outside of Gaza throughout the Arab world. And so I'm not so sure you can destroy Hamas outside of Gaza, but you can certainly destroy Hamas within the Gaza Strip. But that's going to be long, arduous, and it will cause a lot of lives, not just from Israel, but also on the civilians within inside Gaza as well.